So today I will talk about machine learning for curing cancer. I will not have a slide like the previous speakers, how much it costs to cure cancer, how many people die from cancer every year. I'm sure that every single person in this room knows somebody who had cancer or who has cancer and know how much pain this disease brings and how much suffering. What I do want to talk about is an immense opportunity that machine learning and IT has to totally change and revolutionize this disease. For years and years, we all assumed this disease will be cured by biologists, and I think it's our time to reclaim this territory and make a big change. So what I'm going to be talking about today, the examples that I will give you will be related to breast cancer, but I think it relates to all different types of cancer. So the reason I got into this field is that 3 years ago I was diagnosed with breast cancer. So you can see this is my son cutting my hair, and then it's me on the beach without the hair. And I can tell you something about that time. I had two questions that repeatedly came to my mind through the whole treatment. One was, how did I get it? Because nobody in my family ever got it, and I'm healthy overall. And the second question is, why are we using such an archaic methods to treat this disease? Where is machine learning and AI here, okay? So let's start with the first question. So if you're thinking about it from the statistical viewpoint, the fact that I got cancer was actually not that weird, because 1 in 7 women are going to get breast cancer in their lifetime. And also we know that vast majority of these women will be first in their families. And this can explain why in Taiwan we see this huge increase in cancer occurrences, both in terms of mortality and in terms of new incidents. So I still don't know why I got cancer. I accepted it that I wouldn't know, but it wasn't like really statistical abnormality. The next question is actually was, how come we have all this amazing AI? And when I visited Winstrom, actually Simon asked this question, you know, AlphaGo was used to beat a human player, a champion in fact. Why is it not used to make such a big difference in healthcare? And I do believe strongly that these technologies that we developed can make a big difference, but we have to be careful. As John Goodard mentioned today, we've seen here is IBM Watson, which was deployed with a big fanfare in many US cancer clinics, actually didn't deliver and is not used anymore. So my personal understanding, I had a lot of ideas how I, with techniques that I have, can cure cancer. But, you know, looking at this example of IBM Watson, you know, the first thought that came to my mind, that you actually have to listen to the doctors and to understand what technology are they going to be using, rather than come up with my own ideas from scratch. So I went to Massachusetts General Hospital where I was treated, and I found a team of doctors who are very excited to try machine learning in cancer care. But the first thing that I wanted to see, what is actually the process of how they are doing the whole clinical pipeline. And before I talk about machine learning, I want to spend a few minutes and to explain to you the pipeline so we can understand where we have a huge challenge and opportunity to help. So let's say you go and do your X imaging, like in this case it's a mammogram, an X-ray of the breast, and you know, then we have a human radiologist who goes and reads this mammogram in detail, spends time. Then the radiologist writes a report where she describes what exactly did she see in this breast. Afterwards, the patient goes and does pathology when they extract a piece of tissue. Then you get this pathology slide, and again another human goes, reads this pathology, and then describes us a story, what they've seen in this pathology report. So we already at least seen 2 very qualified humans who put their time to take this raw data and interpret it for us. So now at this point, when your data is interpreted, you're ready to go and see your oncologist who will recommend the treatment. Now let's see what happened here. You start with these very high resolutions, huge images. Then these big images with a lot of things that happened there got reduced to like short stories. You can say, okay, maybe the story is enough, but de facto what happens? Actually, the doctor doesn't even need the whole story. They are looking at few variables, and based on these few variables, they will give you the treatment. There is like a big decision tree, and you're going to find yourself, which treatment will work for you. Now, let's say you're looking at a cancer, and there are this particular triple negative has a survival, disease-free survival rate of 77%. So here, let's say you have 4 different women. This is parts from their pathology. Let's say 3 of them are perfectly fine after 5 years, and 1 of them is not fine. Now, when we are looking at this summary, which abstracts this variable, to us they look all the same. We totally lost our ability to discriminate between all these different cases. We just see this summary, and we have no clue why exactly for 1 woman from this group it worked, and for 3 women it worked, and for 1 it didn't. The truth is, because we kind of threw the baby with the water, and we totally removed all the detailed information, we really cannot make this distinction and discrimination. And this is really, really a big problem. So the first place where I felt computer science can make a big difference is to be able to take the raw data that we have and directly from the raw data to make clinical predictions, where you don't have necessarily human who has to come up with some categories to abstract the data. You don't want to lose all this richness. You really want to use it to make the big predictions. Okay, so the first thing that I wanted to make sure, again, talking to the doctors, is to say, let's just try to see how well we can do what humans are doing. So today, all the imaging data is read by radiologists in all the hospitals in the United States, in Taiwan, in other countries. And what do? They look at the image and they make 2 predictions. One is how likely that you have abnormality, this is called BIRAD, and another one is a tissue, the quality of tissue which predicts your risk of breast cancer, it's called density. Okay, so you've heard a lot about machine learning, so this problem seems to be a natural problem of machine learning. Why? Because you can take all these images that human read, you have 500,000 images at MGH alone. For each one of those images, you know whether they had cancer or they didn't have cancer. Then you can say, okay, I'm just going to treat this problem as my favorite, take my favorite neural model and run on it. So this is your classifier, correct? This is the image. And then you just make prediction, let's say, does it have cancer or doesn't have cancer? And when you're training this model, you're going to take all your 500,000 images with known predictions, you're going to optimize the parameters, and then you supposedly have a model. And when I got into this field, I was kind of in a naive way, so that I can just take something which is out there, some tool, and run it, and it's going to be great. And of course, it didn't work. And the reason it didn't work, there are 2 reasons. First of all, it's kind of obvious reason, because our vision community is focusing today primarily on a very small images, like 256 on 256. Now, if you're looking at mammogram images, we are talking about 3,000 by 3,000. Those are huge images. If you want to be able to process pathology, it's even much larger images. Moreover, do you see the difference between this dog and this cancer? The dog takes 30% of the image. The cancer takes less than 1% of the image. So the ratio between the signal and noise is totally uncomparable here. So clearly it will not work. And I tried to read mammograms myself, and I found it's really a tricky business. See, this is cancer. The only reason you could see it is because you do huge magnifications. And if you see how humans are finding cancer when they look at this big screen, they sit down and zoom. It's no trivial task. We all can find a dog in a picture. In order to find this in the picture, you need to go and be trained in medical school for several years. No trivial task. Okay, I will just give you some kind of high-level idea how we managed to solve this task. So originally, as I told you, I said you have annotation. Annotations that we have, they just say whether there is cancer or there is no cancer. We found that it is not sufficient, and for some small subset of images, we actually ask radiologists to annotate to us the location of the cancer. Then again, inspired by what radiologists do, they not only look at your current image, they look at your previous images and look at the progression. So we build a model that can utilize prior images and also that looks at the global context, because it's not enough just to look at one patch at a time, you need kind of compare it with the rest of the tissue. And what we've done, we took the breast, divided it to small patches, and we train, we call it PatchNet, which actually tries to predict whether the patch is cancerous or not. This is a very weak predictor. It doesn't do very well on its own because it doesn't have the global context, it doesn't have prior information. So we don't take the prediction itself. What we take from this neural model is the final layer, which actually dense vector, which kind of summarize the important features of this patch. And then we take all these different representation from individual patches, aggregate them together, add to it prior mammograms and other information, and make our final prediction. And what's interesting here is actually to see what kind of cancers computer learn versus radiologists. And here, this is a Bible of radiologists. This is the manual which is used to train how, they say if you have this picture and it's white and there is some black in the middle, then it's cancer, and if it's something else, it's not cancer. So it's a very big book. And this is an example, they show you this image and explain why this is cancer. This is all these patches are different kind of types of cancer that activate the model. So, and the interesting thing that when our radiologists look at this particular representation, they could actually quite closely identify the types that are in the manual itself. So you can really see that the model learns some meaningful representation. Next, so let me just tell you how we perform. So in terms of density prediction, this task which they have to report, how is your tissue, the accuracy of the model is 88% when you compare against the numbers stored together with images. We took one of the most experienced radiologists from MGH and asked her to annotate the same images. Her accuracy was 86%. Obviously, she didn't do it like for 10,000 images, but we selected pretty large set. So you can really see that for this task, currently radiologists are doing it, machine can trivially solve this task. Now, the task which was harder was the task of BI-RAD prediction, which is really saying, does it have cancer or it doesn't? And actually, the person, the head of breast radiology at MGH explicitly told us, I would not trust your machine making my job because, we are legally responsible for the decision. But what I want to do is to have machine tell me, this is a portion of images which are trivially, clearly not called back. So there is no cancer here, and the rest I want human to see. And they have a definition, what does it mean, clearly no callback. So our model can identify 40% of the whole flow and say there clearly no callback, which is with an accuracy of 99.9%. So even at this point, you can already see that you can cut by 40% the load of radiologists. And this load we can do to further improve the model, and we're working on it. But my personal reasoning when I got into this business was not to try to speed it up for radiologists or to remove radiologists. What I was really interested in is, can you make machine do predictions that today doctors cannot do? And one question that I always had when I was diagnosed, I was actually high risk because I had high density breast. I was screened every half a year for 2 years. And at my very last time, they said, you need to go for 2 years. So there is no change, you're fine. On my very last time, they found this small cancer. And the question that I always had, was there any indicator in previous mammograms that I'm heading that way? And what we know from biology is that cancer doesn't grow from yesterday to today, that it takes time. it means that whatever I got, and it was very small cancer, was brewing there for at least a year. And again, what we know from biology and medicine, we know that whenever there is malignancy in your body, it takes a while for it, and there is changes in the tissue. So everybody's body, even if you're 20, your body gets older every day and tissue changes. But there are some tissue which are kind of normal progression, and there are some tissue which lead you to malignancy. So now the question is, can we take the sequences of images and try to predict when the person heads towards malignancy? In other words, can you predict the cancer not based on the very recent mammogram, but try to predict it earlier, before you can actually even see it? Because in this case, you can put a person on the chemo prevention, provide treatment options which do exist. And currently, we're very lucky. We actually created this very clean data set which has 10,000 women which were screened every year for 7 years, and we are working on the models to actually be able to do this task. Let me show you another example where you can really change it, how today people do medicine. So if you look at model of risk, those are very simple model. They look at your age and your race and so on, like your family history and other things. And these models kind of give you good explanation at the level of the whole population. But almost nobody makes serious decisions like take drugs based on these models, because they are weak. You know, the error bars are so high. Now again, if we are, instead of using this very traditional way of combining these variables, you're going to give images. Look at the images of the first mammogram the person took, and look what happened in 10 years. Can you predict which ones, based on the first mammogram, within 10 years is going to develop cancer? And then, if you can do it reliably, what you can do then, you can say, okay, these women really who are very high risk need to be screened very aggressively with MRI and so on. And those who are very low risk, maybe they don't need to go every year and get mammogram, maybe every 3 years. So this is really a place of opportunity, both cost opportunity and an opportunity to prevent cancer. Okay, and I just want to say where we are heading now. Right now, in addition to the mammograms, we are adding the pathology data, and I believe it would be really crucial for us to make stronger prediction of the disease prognosis. We are moving to tomosynthesis, which is a 3D mammograms and the MRI. Okay, this is what I wanted to say about kind of working with the raw images, and I want to move to the next question. Is fine, you know, you can predict that this person heads towards cancer, but you still have to cure the person, correct? And you want to select the best treatment. So in my naivety, when I started working in this area, I thought, oh, this is exactly Netflix problem. You remember Netflix data set in 2009, they gave to people, this very big matrix, which had for every, the set of users, and they're ranking for movies. And then you say, I can recommend you the best movie because maybe you are similar to this other person for whom I know the rank. So there was this smart matrix factorization algorithm that today is used in all product recommendation systems. So whenever Amazon makes a recommendation of your shoes and lipstick, that's the type of algorithm they're using. So this is great. We can use exactly the same thing for our, cancer patients. Maybe here you can have all the users, different treatments, see what worked and what didn't. To my surprise, again, the idea was very naive because we don't have data sets, large data sets related to cancer patients. And in fact, there is this statistic that is really a troublesome statistic given by American Society of Clinical Oncology that says that all the clinical decisions for cancer are based on 3% of the population that participates in clinical trial. Let's think about it for a second. 97% of information about cancer patients are just thrown out. We don't utilize it today. And you can ask, why do they do it? And I think one of the main reasons is that today, if you go to clinical oncology, what you see that mostly the way they create these databases, they create them by hand. They actually pay a medical doctor to sit down and create the tables. And it's totally bizarre. I found one of the data sets, that I was doing some processing, and I saw that, all these women had 0 children. And I said, wow, I didn't know that lack of children is such a strong predictor of breast cancer. So some women did have some children, so I asked, how come? I said, if we don't know how many children are there, we just put 0. So, and this is, everywhere. Like the statistics that we are getting about cancer come from cancer registries. Cancer registries are built by hand, and it's not, in that case, it's not a doctor. It's some person who maybe have an undergraduate in something, definitely not in related field, who sits down and day after day enters this information. How accurate are those statistics? So the question that I had, can you automate this process? Can you take, some reports and then build these tables automatically? And we did build those tables. Oh, thank you. So you have, let's say, a pathology report, and it automatically maps them into a database. And again, how you can do it? The same method. You have your pathology reports. Let's say you want to predict if somebody has lymph invasion. So you look at this report and say, this one has lymph invasion, it doesn't have lymph invasion, this one does. You train your big neural net and you get the predictions. So it works beautifully if you have the training data to do that. I can tell you, if you can, during question answering time, how you work on it if you don't have enough training data. But what we did so far, we created a patients of breast cancer patients of 50,000 people in it, and the accuracy of our data set is around 96%. So I think this is the largest data set that is automatically constructed with rich information that is currently available. And what kind of predictions you can make with it? And this is a Dr. Kevin Hughes who was, he's using it. This is his office at MGH. And one of the interesting things about the systems that we developed, that the doctor, when he or she wants, those are different predictions that the model makes. If the doctor is not sure, he suspects something is wrong, he can click on it, it will bring you to this report, and it will identify the part of the document from where this extraction has been done. So you force your neural model to actually explain itself. Why it is important? Because it is transparent for the doctor, and because it enables to the doctor very fast to check it, and the system constantly retrains itself. So every night it runs and becomes better and better. And I should say that now we are working with people from Hunan Hospital who study breast cancer in China, in young women, and we also created this data set in Chinese. Okay, so let me give you some examples how these big data sets can be used. So this is my collaborator, Dr. Lehman. So the question that she was interested in is to eliminate unnecessary surgery when biopsy returns you borderline condition. You don't know whether it is cancer or not. So what you do in top US hospitals talking about over-treatment, you just do the surgery, the real surgery when you extract the piece. And it turns out that 87% of these women had benign condition. You cut out breast for 87% of women with no good reason, going through the whole surgery and insurance paid for it. So it's really travesty that we're doing it. So now, with machine learning, we didn't use at that point the imaging data, which I actually want to try now, but for 30% of the women who have this borderline condition, we can say you have benign condition. If you want to have a surgery, you can, but really there is no reason. Another example, this is again Kevin Hughes, what he was interested in is to see if you're looking at various kind of high-risk patients which have some lesions in their breast. Some of these lesions are very likely to turn into cancer. Many of them will not. So you really need to know which woman you need to put on a very strong drug, which you don't have to put on a strong drug. And because our data set has progression of 30 years, you can actually very easily do these statistics. And now the data set used by many, many groups, both at MGH and Dana-Farber. So my final minute, I want to talk about something else that, originally when I worked at it, I didn't see the connection, but now I do. So in addition to working in medicine, I work on using deep learning for chemistry. And the reason I think it is important, I realize that the drugs that I'm taking every day, and many breast cancer patients, was developed in the 60s. So I think another place where computer science can make a huge impact is actually help to do drug development. And one question that we started working on is how you can do a retrosynthesis. So you have your basic material from which you can generate from which you can generate your final molecule, and you try to find the path in an immense space of possibilities which will generate you the desired molecule with the highest yield and lowest cost. Now everything is done by humans. Chemical engineers sit for months and months, sometimes years, with their intuition try to find it. So we took close to 500,000 chemical reaction, organic chemistry, and we did some fancy neural models, and we were able to generate, to predict what is a final molecule with an accuracy of 69%. So originally I was not very proud of this number. And then we did an experiment. I took chemical engineering PhD students and postdocs at MIT, and I asked them to make the same prediction. Now, you guys guess, how well did they do? 45? Okay, yeah, they were better. They're from MIT at any rate. They got 48.2%. And even the best out of them, which specializes in this particular type of organic chemistry, was still below 69%. So, what does it tell you? It tells you that this example just illustrates how we can immensely change the drug design and sensitivity if you use all the data that we have about the patients and about the chemistry and do it very differently. And let me just close this talk with these citations from New York Times. The article was called "Advances Elusive in the Drive to Cure Cancer." And what it says, that if you compare in the last 50 years and see what happens in cardio diseases, you see there was significant drop of mortality, 64%. Similar you see in pneumonia. What do you see about cancer? 5% adjusted for the population size. This is travesty, and I think all of us have to contribute and we can change it. Thank you very much.